Maybe you're just now starting your job search and you're just starting to get kind of discouraged about the process. Or maybe you're in an industry that you don't necessarily care for and you're looking to switch gears. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things that I wish I knew when I was entering the workforce. This is what nobody tells you, and maybe these things will help you too. For those of you who don't know me, hello, my name is Natalie. I design aircraft interiors for a living. Here, I talk about all things travel, aviation, and personal and professional development. If you like videos like this, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss another video. So go ahead and grab a coffee, grab a snack, and let's dive right in. Number 1, whether you are a recent graduate or you're looking for your first job from a different industry or you're coming from somewhere completely different, chances are it's going to be difficult to find work like right out the gate, but you know what? That's okay. You'll probably experience something like this. You might send like 20 to 100 different applications or more to different companies, and they're probably going to hesitate to take a chance on you because like, oh, we want someone with more experience. And you might have like a really, really good resume, but out of those 20 to 100 applications, you might only get like a few callbacks, and that's totally okay. I'm such a big believer in everything working out exactly as it's supposed to. You only want to work with a company that definitely wants to work with you and wants you on their team. But I definitely think like if you're meant to work for a company, that company is going to call you. They're going to continue engaging with you if they're interested in having you work for them at some point in time, even if it's not right now in this moment. So if you're not getting a lot of callbacks, don't stress about it. Like literally just don't worry about it. Everything is going to work out exactly as it's supposed to. And we're not going to understand it right now, like where we are in this point in time, but eventually once we get where we're going, like it's going to make more sense. So what to do in the meantime? Definitely continue applying with these companies and don't let up on the applications. Don't let that discourage you because everybody goes through it, which leads me into point number 2, which is you're not alone in this. Like, it can totally seem like you're by yourself and that you're alone and that you're the only one who doesn't have their lives together. And then you look on like social media and like Susie Q has her dream job at such and such company, or somebody else is, you know, doing something else that's really cool with their job or their internship. And it's really easy to think that, you know, you're the only one who hasn't had any luck finding anything. And honestly, you're not the only one. Like there are so many other people that are going through the exact same thing as you are. And not a lot of people talk about it because a lot of people are very embarrassed by it. Like definitely when I've gone through my periods where I was unemployed or that I was in between jobs or right after graduating, like not being able to find something, it's very discouraging. And it's really easy to believe that, oh, I'm the only one in this and no one else has ever experienced this before and I'm never gonna make something of myself. And it's so easy to get into that process. I think especially if you're like in your early 20s, I think it's really easy to think that way. The world is just kind of a scary place whenever you're in your early 20s. There's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of self-discovery, and it's almost like when we're discovering ourselves in like middle school and high school and we're trying to decide like, oh, you know, what's my personal style, what's my personal brand, and you know, how is it that I typically dress, and you know, you might experiment with those things, and you do that on another level whenever you're entering into the workforce and when you're trying to make something of yourself in this world in a sense. But everyone goes through this self-discovery period. Don't think that you're alone in this because you're absolutely not. You are perfectly fine with where you're at and you're not weird. Just remember that. This also relates to my 3rd point, which is don't compare yourself to your peers. And this can also apply to other areas in life, but just to keep it like career specific. And I mentioned this in the previous point as well, but it can seem like everybody's like getting that job that they're really wanting, or it can seem like they are really doing well financially. It can seem like you're just really far behind everybody else and that you're never going to get that job and you're never going to get where you're going. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, don't believe that. And honestly, like when it comes to like getting where we're going, most of it is in the timing of things. This also goes with like everything happens exactly as it's supposed to. Just to take like a personal example, like I remember when I was in university, like little bit of background, I studied interior design. And when it came time for us to like get our design internships, it seemed like everybody in my class had their internship and I totally thought I was like very far behind. Like I had my application submitted to be a design intern for this aircraft completion center that I ultimately ended up working with, but it took a really long time for them to get back with me. And a lot of that just had to do with like projects that they needed to get sorted on their end. And I mean, aviation in itself is a different industry and like how they move in terms of employment. And, you know, I didn't realize that at the time. And so I was kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, like I'm never gonna graduate and I'm never gonna get this internship, and everybody else is just like so much farther ahead than I am. So I totally thought like, whatever, like I'm just gonna have to find something else. And then right as I was looking into other options, I finally got a call from that aircraft completion center, and they needed a lot of extra help. And so they interviewed me, and then I ended up working with them, and that's how I got my start in aviation. I'll definitely make a separate video about that, like just like a story time of like how I got my start in the industry and how I ended up sticking with it and why I ended up sticking with it for as long as I have. So from memory, I was literally one of the last ones in my class. Like from what I can remember, it felt like I was the last one in my class. Like I felt like the late bloomer, the runt of the litter. Like I just did not feel like I had my life together because everybody else had their internships lined up, and I was just like, where am I supposed to be? I don't understand. And I really wanted to design aircraft interiors, which is why I applied at that aircraft completion center. But yeah, I just remember feeling super behind. And then after I got that internship, that ended up confirming that this is literally what I'm supposed to do. I just fell in love with it. And I'm glad that it ultimately worked out how it did, because if it didn't work out in the sequence of events that it did, I mean, who knows? I might have like tried to pursue working for somebody else, and I wouldn't have discovered how much I actually love designing aircraft interiors. And I don't know if I would have found something that I was so passionate about. So always trust in the timing, and just know that if it's taking a while, chances are that just means that wherever this is leading you, it's ultimately going to lead you somewhere where you're absolutely going to love. So let's say that you have a job, or you have that internship, or let's say you just got the job, you just got accepted after your interview, and a few weeks working in, you're like, I don't know about this. This is not my dream job. Or maybe you feel like you're settling by accepting a certain job offer. You're kind of in a pickle because nothing else has come up, and this seems to be the one that's naturally working out. Chances are you're not gonna be at this job forever, and everything is so temporary. So if you hate your job now, don't worry about it. You're probably not gonna be there forever. Or if your dream job hasn't come up, then you know what? It's probably not time yet, and that's okay. Your dream job will present itself in the manner in which it's supposed to. It will only be when you are absolutely ready for it. And actually, the workforce reminds me a lot of dating. So this is a good example. So imagine like the high school sweethearts or the middle school sweethearts. Middle school sweethearts actually might be a better example because there are a pretty good amount of people who end up marrying their high school sweethearts. Think about the people who met in middle school, but they decided that they're gonna get married after they get to that age where they're ready to get married. How many people actually end up with their middle school sweethearts? Like, it happens. It definitely happens. And some people just end up finding their partners early in life, and some people find them later in life. And that doesn't mean that one is better than the other. They're just different. But it doesn't happen very often where you find the one person when you're like 13, 14 years old, and then you stayed with them all that time and ended up marrying them. Like, the same thing can be applied for jobs. Like, you might be at one place, but then what are the chances of you actually staying at that job forever and ever and ever? Chances are you're not gonna get married to that job. So don't sweat it if you're not feeling it. And then the same thing with dating as well. You know, most people date around for a while before they find their forever person. And it's okay if it takes a little bit longer than it does others. Again, just because someone finds their dream job like right out the gate, that doesn't make them better than you. That just means that their timing is different than yours. That also doesn't mean that like the end destination, that they're gonna end up in a better place than you are. It's just so important to remember that every job you have in life is eventually gonna contribute to where you're ultimately going to end up. And you can learn something through every experience. Like, some of my jobs that weren't like my most favorite, I can always say that I got something out of them and that I learned something. And I didn't realize why I had to be doing certain things at that time, but I didn't realize that that experience was actually molding me and preparing me for where I'm at ultimately today. We never understand in the moment like why things are happening the way that they are until we get where we're going, and then it all makes sense. And number 5, what I wish I knew was that you don't have to worry so much. Like, you don't have to be so anxious about where you're gonna end up or what's gonna come next. I definitely believe in living in the present moment and just overall enjoying the gift of today and enjoying the gifts that are presented to you today, because one day day, you're gonna look back and you're gonna think, oh, I should have enjoyed that time more because I had nothing to worry about. But what kind of helps me calm down from those anxious thoughts is if I just ground myself in this moment, if I take into account the things that I'm grateful for, the roof over my head, my family, my friends, the hummingbirds outside, and the beautiful day, even the rain. You know, if it's a really gloomy day, that's an opportunity to get cozy and drink a nice cup of coffee. It also helps me to just remember everything will be okay. And this goes again with the everything is temporary thing. It also helps me to keep myself busy. Let's do this scenario. Let's say that you're unemployed. You have a lot of time on your hands and you get very anxious about finding your next job. That's totally normal and you are totally valid and you're totally okay for thinking that. And I've been there before. I've been there more than once and it's scary every single time. So there are at least like productive things you can do to use up your time to sort of help at least discourage anxious thoughts and at least like keep them at bay as much as possible. Again, it's totally normal and it's totally okay. And I'll elaborate more on these in a different video, but one, I would cook. I would cook all of my own meals, put on a cute podcast in the background. Two, I would go to the gym every day. Three, I would make time to do everyday activities with my family, my friends, my loved ones. Four, I would use this time to grow deeper in my faith. Also, if you have a portfolio of previous work, if you're in the creative field of any kind, graphic design, interior design, anything of the sort, this is the perfect time to work on your portfolio and to ensure that you're putting your best foot forward when you are applying for those roles and when you do have to bring out that portfolio and show examples of previous work. I know, it's so much easier said than done to just not worry, and it's really, really hard, especially if you're at the beginning stages of being in the workforce. But I'm telling you from someone who has been there, anybody else who has been there, they will say the exact same thing. So much can happen in a matter of days, weeks, in a year's time, in a few months' time. Because we don't know the future, we get very anxious about it. And so we think of the worst case scenario that could possibly happen, just so we can be sure to prepare as much as possible and so that we are able to handle it whenever the bad news does come. But you know what? What if the bad news never comes? And what if there's actually good news around the corner? So just enjoy the day, take a walk outside, exercise, cook something nourishing and beautiful for yourself, take care of your friends and your family, and do selfless activities altogether that'll really help at least shift the perspective, shift the focus, and to not focus so much on your own troubles. And then you can also be a blessing to others and really make a difference in someone else's world. So if I had to write a love letter to myself from when I was just looking for a job in the workforce, this is what I would tell her. These are the top 5 things. I really hope you found these things helpful. Take this like big sis advice. This is giving big sister energy. I want you to think, I feel better now. I'm not alone in this. It's going to be okay. And eventually I'm gonna get where I'm going. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna enjoy this day and I'm gonna love my life. Or at least hope this helps a little bit. If you like this video and you wanna see more videos like this, be sure to like this video and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss another video. Leave a comment below if you have any additional thoughts, or maybe if you had to write a love letter to yourself, what would you say? Put it in the comments below. I want to hear it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.